touching on the top prop bets in the NBA today. All right, guys, so let's get into the board for today. Looking at it, this is going to be a better board than we've gotten the last 2 days as it sits right now. I am doing this a little bit earlier on in the day. I am trying to do kind of 2 videos per day. One in the morning, that's going to be us chasing the best odds that are available, kind of getting ready for the day slate. And then if there are good props available, specifically fantasy point wise, because those typically come out later on in the day, I can't really predict when those are going to come out. And I don't want to wait for those to come out and have us miss out on favorable bets that are there in the start of the day, at the start of the day. So with that, I want to do that structure because fantasy point props have kind of been the way to go. You don't have to worry. And like yesterday's a good example of it. Mitchell Robinson and also PJ Washington, they finished a half of a whatever point, rebound, or assist away from getting their over point rebounds and assists. PJ Washington was then the best bet on the day, fantasy point wise, in the second video because his didn't get adjusted enough. So that was a much easier bet to make. And so looking at the day's board, we are getting like 2 good 3-pointer bets, and I'll show that. And then also, just for what it's worth, we do have 2 okay PGA DFS bets, and I just want to call this one out. Terrell Hatton prop here is set at 71.5 on PrizePicks. On Underdog, it's set at 70.5. So that's the biggest difference that we're getting. It feels like we could bet the under on PrizePicks and then bet the over on Underdog. And heck, maybe he'll shoot a 71 and reward us in both ways. But that's the biggest discrepancy that we had in strokes. And so that one's still out there for the Taco Tuesday, as well as Chris Kirk birdie or better matchup, which hopefully will save the Taco Tuesday day for me personally. It was bad. Yesterday was my worst day giving advice. In the 1.5 months that I've been doing this, by far my worst. And I would say that's, in a weird way, it's a stress release for me because I've been doing this for 1.5 months. How haven't I had a, just terrible day yet? And I don't know, for some reason that stress had been building up and up. To me, I'm like very excited about today because it's not like I went back. It's not like I made any wrong decisions. We're chasing favorable odds. We're chasing the projection. And for me to have a bad day yesterday, it's kind of exciting in the sense that positive regression, right? Looking at this is the best bet that we're getting on the day. I feel like this is a perfect example of it. DeJounte Murray over 1.5 threes. So looking at it, this odd is set at minus 145 to get over 1.5 threes. Now, why is that probably? Well, it's probably because he's coming in off of 2 poor night shooting. So chances are that's not going to continue. Chances are he's going to have a positive regression back to his mean. Chances are he's probably going to make 2 threes tonight. And so that's why the sportsbooks are giving those good odds. And so that's where, coming off of a bad night, it's kind of exciting. Now, yes, PJ Washington was the best fantasy point prop that we had. Kind of called that out, but that was before this one came out. And this is also the unfortunate side. I say this a lot. I don't control when the prop board's update. I don't control the props that are out there. This was a prop that was made available literally right after I got done posting my second Taco Tuesday video. Had this one not been out, it probably would have been one I would have said, I'm fine kind of going all in on this. And I call that out because yesterday, and obviously this is an update for the day just yet, we didn't have any good over fantasy point props besides really PJ Washington to me. And on paper, it wasn't even that elite. That prop was projected to be 5 over. The edge was set at 5 over. Now, had it been available, I would have been able to call it out. And that's why I put it in the comment section because I wanted as many people to see it as possible. But guys, that's why I try to be as transparent as possible. That's why I try to go through the process each day and not just say, here are the best bets. I try to give the insightful thoughts as to why they are. So you guys can decide, use that information to make the best educated decision you can possible. And so we'll start off today's board with DeJounte Murray over 1.5 threes. Now, I did mention this is the best one that we're getting on the board. Okay, and more likely than not, it's probably going to go away throughout the day. So if we look at it, he averages 2.1 threes made. And we can see is projecting over that. Now, his prop line based off of what Vegas has the line set up times his minutes is also set at 1.5. So that's where he only projected to get 1.75 threes. Now, if we look at the game, it is a game that's projected to be higher scoring. That is good. And if we look at players' threes, we'll see DraftKings has it a little bit tighter than the average sportsbooks odds do. I think that this one is going to go away throughout the day. I mean, minus 145 odds on average is a very good one. And once again, I think the reason why they're favoring the over is the simple fact that he's coming in off of 2 poor nights shooting from 3-ball range. And so if we look at his season average, if he makes, let's say 2 for 6, he's getting back to his season average. It's not that hard for him to get back to his season average. So chances are he's not going to have 3 cold nights shooting in a row, especially given a matchup with Washington. Now, this is what sucks. Last time out against Washington, 1 for 6. And I don't really think that's anything Washington's doing, but it is encouraging that he still is getting around 5 3-point attempts. So that's encouraging to me as well. Time in and time again, if we are chasing these bets that are the best odd bets, we're going to be successful, especially in the long term. So here's another one that we're getting. Darius Garland over 2.5 3-pointers made. And so, guys, we are getting 2 bets in NBA that are over minus 140 on the day. Like, we didn't have a single one like that yesterday. There's Draymond Green over, I think it was rebounds and assists, which he didn't get over. It was at minus 145 for about 10 minutes. Like, we just don't get these ones that much. And that's kind of why I want to do these earlier videos, so that you can come in, get the best prop lines in the morning. But looking at Darius Garland, over 2.5 threes, favored at minus 141 to get over. The edge on these two are not great. Like, we would love that to be higher. But we can see, based off all these metrics that we have, it would suggest that the over is going to hit. And so my biggest worry with that prop, and we'll show you guys his over and under on DK, minus 140. So a very good one there on DK. The biggest worry with this game is going to be that's just not a high scoring game. And so in a non-high scoring game, is it likely that someone will get 3 3-pointers made? Maybe. And if we just pull up his kind of shot attempts, I wish the shot attempts, 3-ball shot attempts, were up a little bit more. Like, if he was consistently shooting 9, I'd be much more encouraged about this one. Now, last game against Miami, 2 for 7, so just missed getting over. So, like, yes, on paper, I wouldn't say that they're locking those, but at the same time, it's tough not to like the minus 140 odds that we're getting with those two bets. And I would say the nice part about both of those is that the games aren't projected to be blowouts. They're projected to be games that stay close, so we don't have to worry about players not getting their final rotation, hopefully, right? Fingers crossed there. So if we continue on, there are going to be some other bets that are okay that we can make for over bets, like Paul George over rebounds and assists. That's fine. Projected to get over it by 1.18. Another one, and I do like Clint Capella today. Points, rebounds, and assists seem too low, and we can see that right here. The edge isn't great, and so maybe you do points and rebounds, but it's only one difference there, so nothing too crazy. And that's where I'm hoping that we get a good line on Clint Capella fantasy point prop wise, because his points, rebounds, and assists is set at 22.5. That would suggest that his fantasy points aren't going to be too high on the day. And then if we go down to some of the best under bets that we're getting, we can see Damian Lillard under 5.5 rebounds at minus 133. Okay, we can see projected to get slightly under that, but here's the thing. He's projected to get what? let's just say 5 rebounds, which is fine, but then he needs to get another one to get over it. I can see why they're favoring it here. So on the season, does average 4.5. All the metrics kind of say that he should be under it. I would say it's far from a lock and load, but we are getting some, pretty decent bets here as the day sits right now. Another one that's all right would be Jimmy Butler under rebounds and assists at 11.5, projected to get 9.6, so kind of same thing. We can see all the metrics are suggesting that this one should be under as well. Now, those are the two best under bets that we're getting on the day right now. So if we continue on, let's look at some over bets where the odds are not matching up with what PrizePicks has. So like looking at this, Evan Mobley over 18 points and assists. That's where the average sportsbook line has it set at. That's favored at minus 120. PrizePicks has it set at 17.5. He is projected to get 18.46. So once again, we can see all the metrics are suggesting that should be over. And once again, kind of using yesterday as an example, we saw like a little bit too much of a roller coaster with all the like favorable odd bets that we're getting. Today, we're seeing a lot more consistency across the lines, across the data points that we have, which to me would suggest that they should be more accurate. Another one that we're getting very similar, Vooch over 17 points. This is favored at minus 117, so not a lock and load, right? PrizePicks has it at 16.5, projected to get 17.6. Another one that we're getting that is pretty good. And let's see that game here. Going against Denver, I guess a little bit of a tougher matchup. Game could be a blowout as well, but not a bad prop that we're getting. And then just another one in which it's not matching up. We got Russell Westbrook line for rebounds and assists set at 12. PrizePicks has it set at 11.5, but he's not projected to get over. So we can see we are getting some favorable bets on the day. Now, I do just want to call out the Thunder are going to be without SGA and also Jalen Williams. So to me, that might suggest that we get a good prop for Dort. And it really just depends on what the starting lineup is going to be. The projected starting lineup right now is Giddey, Joe, Wiggins, Dort, and then Jalen Williams with a Y. And so based off of that, Dort could be the fantasy prop that we get that's undervalued the most. His per 36 numbers with those two off the court is 22 points, 5 rebounds, 2.2 assists, and about 2 blocks and steals, and then 35 fantasy points per 36 with the usage rate of 27%. He'd probably be the one that we're looking at, I would say, but I'm very curious as to where the props are that we're going to get, or what the props that we are going to get are going to be with OKC, because they've been very tight with props like this. Like, I was shocked that we did get Maurice Wagner as a prop yesterday, because they've been so tight to the chest with really strong point per minute players. And so I'm curious as to if we are going to get that for Dort or even Aaron Wiggins, who, he could be at a low fantasy point total. So definitely be on the lookout for these guys. And for what it's worth, like Isaiah Joe, his per 36 numbers are 19.7 points, 5.8 rebounds, 2.1 assists, averages about 33 fantasy points per 36. And once again, like Josh Giddey, strangely enough, he actually sees a decrease in fantasy production. Now, he's been hot lately, so I don't know if we would want to touch him, but his fantasy point total is 37 fantasy points per 36. So yes, he's been very hot recently. They've been able to keep games close-ish, and so he's been productive. So that's probably going to be a prop that we stay away from. Now, to me, and the data didn't really suggest this, this feels like a too low prop line for Cam Reddish. I'm hoping that we are going to get a good fantasy point prop line there like we've gotten the last few nights. Once again, for Clint Capella, this also seems a little bit too low. We can see the last time out against Washington. That was the last game in which he got significant minutes, and he really crushed it in that game. Okay, 13 points, 15 rebounds, 3 assists. And so that's the thing. Like, we are getting, with points, rebounds, and assists for Clint Capella, we are getting 1 assist in that, baked into that. You know, he's projected to get 21.5 rebounds and points, and he's projected to get 22.5 points, rebounds, and assists. And so the thing with Clint Capella is, are the minutes going to be there? And it was kind of a strange puzzle piece. To me, it seems like they will be. So let's just look at it. Since the head coach, he's had 35, 25, 25, and 34 minutes. Now, what was the kind of key point to these two? They were back-to-back games. And so to me, it would suggest that they were just limiting his minutes those 2 games because, you know, they had to play a back-to-back. And so in games that are not going to be back-to-backs that are close, it would suggest that he's going to get the run. And so if he does get that, this would be the favorable prop. Now, I just want to see what his fantasy points are as well, and hopefully this isn't gone by the time the fantasy point props come out. And for what it's worth, this one also seemed a little bit too low to me. Jakob Poeltl, 25 points, rebounds, and assists. Also very curious as to see what his fantasy point projection is going to be. Shout out to whoever it was over the weekend. He called out on Underdog that there's about a 2-point fantasy point difference between Underdog and PrizePicks. It had felt like Jakob Poeltl's PrizePicks projection was a little bit too high. And so shout out to that person, because on Underdog, I went and made that prop. It seemed like kind of a free square, and it ended up being holding true there. So once again, I wouldn't say that these really feel like locks. I feel like DeJounte Murray over 1.5 threes is definitely the best one that we are getting on the day. Favored at minus 145. He's had 2 cold night shootings, 2 cold nights shooting the 3-ball in a row. Thus, I think he should be able to get over. He should be able to get 2 3-pointers made. And then Darius Garland as well, minus 140, projected to get over. I wish the projections were a little bit higher for them to get over this by like a full 3-point attempt. At the same time, I will be taking the favorable odd bets that we are getting each day. That's going to reward us in the long term. But that's all for today's video. Like I said, I am going to try to do 2 videos per day going forward. This is going to be much more of the, here are the best bets that we are getting this morning. And then the afternoon one, like this is going to be more props based, and then the afternoon one is going to be fantasy points based, where, you know, we're trying to find the best fantasy point props, because to me those are the most predictable, because you don't have to worry about, you know, missing a prop by half a rebound or whatnot. Or I think James Wiseman's a perfect example of that. Last night, James Wiseman, we were getting a bunch of favorable prop lines for him. Okay. And the best one on the board was actually rebounds. He only ended up with 5 rebounds. His prop line was set at 7.5. James Wiseman just went off. He had a very efficient night shooting. Dominate fantasy point wise. And so that's where, if we're kind of chasing fantasy point props, we can kind of bake in a little bit of safety in there. And so I think that's why we've been seeing fantasy points being the way to go. But that's all for today's video. Let's have a good slate. Let's have a bounce back day. And as always, let's keep cashing.